Welcome to another episode of OG55. Today we are doing a reaction, a new content creator that we just found out about. Really fun video about Disney's Hollywood Studios expansion possibilities. We're gonna put our nerdy hats on and really speculate, react to this fantastic video. We got Mr. Webba in the house and George the Italiano up next on OG50. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55. We are doing a fantastic reaction to a smaller creator, but really cool video that George brought to my attention. We're going to talk about it, break it down. You know how we do here on OG55. Before we do, though, I want to introduce, you know what? I'll start with Mr. Webba. Mr. Webba, welcome back, sir. How are you? You're on mute, brother. You're on mute.
God damn it.
There it is.
Okay, yes. Thank you so much for having me on, OG. Even though my dumbass couldn't unmute the button. It's a pleasure to be on with you guys, as always. I can't wait to react to this video. I'm not familiar with this content creator, so I'm excited to see what video they have to offer here. And you can find me, Mr. Webba, on Twitter /X, Mr. Webba at Webslinger760. Also on Threads and Instagram, Mr. Webba at Cobweb91. You can also find me here on OG55.
Yes, sir. The Italiano. Where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And also check out my new YouTube channel, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55. And I just have to say really quick, before we dive in, this particular content creator, I have been following her for a little bit of time now. Her videos kind of intrigued me to kind of follow, like, a lot of the info that she gives out. And it's a very simplistic videos, but I mean that in a very good way. Sometimes you don't need to have like the big production numbers for a video to be just as relevant. So I definitely applaud her with her YouTube channel for sure.
Yep, sounds like a plan. So but without further ado, let's go ahead and bring up the reaction video. Content creator probably at Disney. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Show probably at Disney a lot of love. Tell her that OG55 sent you, and then also smash that like button. Okay, and then later on today, we'll be reacting to Family Guy Season 18 All Death compilation. So right here, guys, everybody. I'm just kidding. Family Guy's a great show, though. It really is. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to play the video. Ebba and George, you know the routine, you know the drill. If there's anything that you want to talk about, just stop, and we'll break it down, and we'll go from there. Here we go. Put on captions. Let's rock.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. You were watching probably at Disney, and we're at Hollywood Studios to talk about a surprising new rumor/report that, according to sources, is a pretty big deal. Within recent days, more than one source has claimed that we haven't heard all of the new projects that Disney has in the works for Walt Disney World. And Disney may not be waiting until this year's Destination D23 to reveal it.
Okay, here is the thing. We're going to get into some juice right now. We're a little juicy. I actually think there could be some legitimacy to this, and I'll tell you why. Ebba, you and I had a phone conversation, I think, a couple nights ago, right? We talked about Josh D'Amaro, right? Look, I have nothing against the guy personally. He seems like a really pleasant, charming guy. But when it comes to the parks, I've been very critical. We all have. We've been very critical of Josh's kind of management. It seems like there's a lot of feet dragging and all this stuff. And now all of a sudden, he's in the running to become the next CEO. And now suddenly he brings, he gives us a banger D23, all these announcements, right? Which he did fantastic. To be fair, Josh had an amazing D23. He did everything he had to do at that expo. But it was largely because, let's be completely realistic and honest, it's because he's running to be CEO. He can't afford to fumble right now, right? Well, when is Destination D23? Well, it's in August, okay? Disney is supposed to announce the next CEO, I believe, by the end of this year, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Okay? By the end of this year, I believe. I'm telling you, Josh has to impress the board, has to get good buzz for him with the fans. So it wouldn't surprise me if he waits until Destination D23 to announce another big thing. It's kind of getting too late for that CEO push, right? It doesn't shock me if maybe between now and June or something, we hear a big announcement for Walt Disney World. Number one, because he needs it, because he's trying to win over the board. Number two, what's going to happen in the next couple months in Florida? Epic Universe is officially opening. And Josh is going to want to show, hey, you know what? We got this. Disney's got this. We got, not only did we announce all this stuff at D23, but now we also are throwing this on the table. It's not a coincidence that we're hearing stuff about Florida, right? So I think there is a huge connection here in terms of like the CEO running and Epic Universe opening in May. I think that Josh is trying really hard to get this spot and become the next CEO. And I think he's going to make moves. And it wouldn't shock me if we get something big for Florida before Destination D23. George, what are your thoughts on that? Is it crazy? Is my theory off, out of bait?
No, actually, you're spot on with that. I actually think that if these speculations are true of what she's saying, that several sources are, kind of throwing it out there that, a lot more is going to be invested in Walt Disney World prior to Destination D23. And you had mentioned about Epic Universe. Yeah, I could see like between the months of April and even May, because Disney might want to either make a big announcement or make a big move prior to Epic Universe opening, or maybe around the time it is opening, to try to draw people in to say, okay, well, we're focusing on Epic Universe right now, but we also have to kind of get back into the fact of that Disney is making moves and Disney is going to deliver these, and especially again, as you had mentioned also with Josh still trying to, keep his head above water in this race for CEO. He's going to want to have to pull out all the stops. And it's not just about making these announcements. It's delivering on your promises, Josh. You have to come through.
You can't Kathleen Kennedy this thing, Josh. You cannot make the announcements for the splashy headline and to get fans excited and not follow through. Okay. And that's what worries me about Josh D'Amaro. Again, I'm rooting for you, Josh. I want you to succeed. I love these parks. I love this company. I want you to be successful, because if you're successful, Disney, the company I love and adore, does well, right? But it worries me that we haven't really seen much ambition from this guy until he really needed it. And Webba, we talked about on the phone the other day, right? Where it's like, that's where it feels a little bit like phony a little bit, where it's like, where were all these big announcements before? Now all of a sudden, because you're running for CEO, now all of a sudden we're getting everything promised to us, right? So again, I really do hope and that all this stuff happens and it happens the way it's promised and all that good stuff. But honestly, it makes us nervous. But Ebba, you want to go ahead and chime in on what you think about this, about possibility, even more announcements before Destination D23 and what have you?
Yeah, so I have two things I want to bring up. One is, again, I would love to hear if there's another secret big theme for Florida. My only question, though, is that what would it be? Because you're getting Tropical Americas, right? And the big thing, like really big thing that fans like George have been wanting forever is coming to Walt Disney World is Villains Land. So I'm really trying to think what other big land or big expansion that the fans are really hungry for that they could drop and it would be like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm really trying to think of what that could be. I can't think of anything off the top of my head unless you guys might have something.
Well, actually, you came on the right recording, because actually she will dive into possibilities of like what can eventually, and some of them are a little bit typical of like what we can talk about. Others are a little bit surprising of how they can tie into with Hollywood studios. That's what even drew me to for us to even have this conversation with this particular video, because again, if these speculations of what she's hearing from sources are true, and some of the suggestions that she throws out there will come to fruition, it would be a complete game changer, not even just for Walt Disney World, but just for Hollywood studios, just as an individual park.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Real quick, the other thing is with Josh, right? So like you said, you know, I don't hate the guy as a person or whatever, right? And this doesn't just apply to him. It applies to other executives and any other really companies. Is that really like, okay, yes, you're getting all this stuff fixed and whatnot. That's super awesome. However, why did it take so long to do all this stuff? And my irritation with this is that this feels more like a agenda-driven thing rather than Josh being, hey, you know what? I'm chairman of parks. You know, I want to make sure my parks are upkept, running efficiently as best as possible, right? I understand they have budget constraints and, manpower constraints and so forth. However, you know, like a lot of this stuff is like, you know, magic breaking, or it's just not a good show. So in terms of getting stuff done on a job level, just because that's the thing you should be doing, is the right thing to do, in my opinion, just getting this stuff fixed, right? Why wasn't that done in the first place? Instead of, because again, this feels more like something that's agenda driven, him wanting the CEO spot, which is fine. He can want the CEO spot.
Right.
However, this comes off as, oh, I want to please everybody and the fans. Look, all the cool stuff I'm doing to now love me to get to the CEO spot. That's what it feels like to me.
Yes, you're right, Ebba, and that's my issue with it. These are good moves being made, but it feels the right moves are being made for kind of the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Because where was all this before? Where was all this before? With the Rise of the Resistance cannons now finally working, the drippy water affecting Tower of Terror now finally working. Why? The timing seems a little too perfect.
It's the incentive of the possibility of him becoming CEO. He's losing, and I hate to put it in that way, but that is just how Josh D'Amaro finagles business. You know, he knows how to talk. He's a great talker. He's a people person, and he can make business that way. But when you look at it through a consumer point of view, or us as the fans or a guest, it kind of looks a little shitty. I'm sorry, Josh. I love you as a person. You know, you have a great personality, but that's just the way that it's coming off, you know, to me anyways.
Well, and here's the thing too, is if Josh, let's say if Daddy Josh gets that CEO position, right? I don't then want him to become like complacent and just kind of, okay, I'm here now, I'm just going to chill.
That's my worry. That's my worry, dude. And that's my worry. And honestly, like if he does all this stuff now and he's working his ass off to get the stuff fixed and to give us the best show possible and all these amazing new lands and attractions, and then he becomes a CEO and he follows through with all of that stuff, and that continues, all the flowers to Josh D'Amaro, all the praise. But I'm worried about that too, because it kind of, all this stuff kind of came very convenient right when he kind of needs it, right? So it's just like it just kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Me with Parks, because then if he still acts as CEO as he is as chairman, who is he going to bring in for Parks? Oh, he's going to bring in someone that was just like him. Oh, that's like all face, all talk, but no show.
Well, and here's the other thing I was telling OG about this when we were on the phone, is the other thing to consider as well is that now we have seen Josh D'Amaro under Chapek and now under Iger. To me, it appears him as chairman of parks, he still has power to do whatever he kind of wants for the parks, not really dictated by Chapek or Iger. So, I mean, before everybody's like, Jay pick this, Jay pick that, blah, 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 right? I get it, you know, but at the same time, you know, he's still acting the same way under Iger. Now, just with the CEO and running, now he has a fire lit under his ass.
Yes. Thank you, Eva. Okay. Bob Chapek left the company, I think, in November of 2022. It's been a long time, y'all. It's been a long time. So we all blame Chapek. Oh, it's Chapek. Chapek had Josh's hands tied. That was the narrative amongst the fan circles. That's fair. It's a fair assumption. Chapek has been gone now for almost 3 years. So what's the excuse now?
Yeah.
So that's the issue. You're right, Eva. 100%, dude.
So in this video, I'm going to dig into where this new secret project is expected to go, when Disney is planning to announce it, and spoiler, it's soon, and then analyze which IP fans are speculating will be involved. So what is this new secret project? If the reports are true, Disney has a plan to redo Animation Courtyard at Hollywood Studios after all, with rumors describing it as big. And for reference, Animation Courtyard is the current home to Star Wars Launch Bay, Disney Junior Live on Stage and Character Meets, and the soon-to-be opening.
And just so everyone at home, because we have a big California audience here, because, you know, we have a big California audience here because, you know,
I ain't got nothing to say but West Side.
You know, we're big Californians here, you know what I'm saying? But just for the Californians at home, the wet stuff on the ground is rain. So just so y'all know, that's called rain. We don't really get that here, but Florida does.
Water is wet.
Meets and the soon-to-be opening The Little Mermaid, a musical adventure show. The fact Disney has a plan for this space may explain why Imagineering opted to replace Muppets Courtyard for its Monsters, Inc. Monstropolis, and maybe, just maybe, it was why the new Little Mermaid show was delayed from opening last year to this year. It's also worth noting that this space is a bit of a challenge. Yes, there is room for land, for a whole themed land, but significant demo will be required to do so due to the Launch Bay building and subsequent office space, and the fact that Disney Junior would likely need to go somewhere.
Now, it was announced today too. I don't know if you gentlemen heard this, and I don't even know if it's connected to this. I'm totally speculating here. Like I said, I'm a Californian, so I'm not 100% familiar with the office space stuff going on in this park, but it's worth noting that Disney just bought an office building in Celebration, Florida.
Yes.
I think it was announced today for like 19 million, right, George?
19.25 or 25 million, I believe, or something like that.
Yeah. So for roughly $19 million. So is that a hint of like they're moving this office space off this property and they're going to bulldoze it for this big land that she is suggesting? Do you think that's a possibility, George, or no?
I think so. It's something that I wouldn't count out, especially the time frame, especially when she released this video and the time that Disney released that it is making a kind of a significant purchase of a building for office space that's around in the Walt Disney World area, but it's right off of Celebration, Florida. So, I mean, there could be some ties and connections to that. Definitely. I wouldn't count that out.
I thought I read, so I don't know if is it Walt Disney World? I thought I read today that Disney Junior was being scrapped. That it was going to have a last show or it was going away or something.
I'm not
possible.
sure. It's possible. I didn't.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but I mean that's interesting, and that's in this area, right, George? Disney Junior.
Disney Junior, yeah, it's the building right to the right on the screen.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Sorry, guys, real quick. The Disney Junior Dance Party has played its last show as of March 24th, 2025. It will no longer run at DCA.
Oh, at DCA. Okay, so it's a DCA thing. Oh, well, that's interesting though. That's a Hollywood Land thing. That's a whole other can of worms. We'll dive into that maybe one day soon.
Since it's a huge draw for families. Now let's talk about when Disney is looking to make the announcement. So some of these same sources have suggested that Disney may drop this bombshell of an announcement the week of May 22nd, which also happens to be the same week that Universal Epic Universe opens. And there are two possible reasons for that.
Yeah.
The first, to obviously steal some of Universal's press.
I just want to say real quick, full disclosure, I was very, very skeptical of the Isle of Berk. I didn't like a lot of the concept art. It looked very Camp Snoopy to me. I got to be honest. But dude, this looks amazing. Honestly, it looks fantastic. Go ahead, Webba.
Sorry, I'm still not I like it. I'm still not a fan of that flying attraction that they have where you are doing this thing or you're flying in circles or whatever.
Oh, it's kind of like that flat ride, like spinny thing in the air.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people are gonna love it. I don't know. To me, again, it's another one of those kind of like off the shelf type of attractions.
No, that's fair. That's fair. It is very off the shelf. Yeah, for me, with Epic Universe, there's not a whole lot a guy like me can do. I'm not really a thrilled guy. There's not a whole lot of everybody rides in this park. There just isn't. I mean, there's a handful, but not many. It's a lot of little kid stuff like Yoshi and this little like boat water thing over here in Isle of Berk, but then there's like the massive coaster, like the Stardust Racers and stuff like that. It's a lot of like extremes. So there's not a whole lot for me to ride in this park, but visually, I think they just hit a home run with a lot of this stuff. I think this looks really, really good.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, as far as like the attractions go in Isle of Berk, I'm really not too excited for. I think just the aesthetics of the land itself looks great, and I'm looking forward to the How to Train Your Dragon show.
I really hope that the food in this area is really good.
Yeah, hopefully. I think so, though. I mean, I think it should be. I'm actually looking forward to the Dark Universe food. I think that's going to be amazing.
Yes,
that's going to be amazing.
And so the Disney doesn't look defeated when this park opens to the public. The second, the big announcement may have something to do with the property that's already found at Universal Orlando. Now, since everyone thought Disney had revealed its full plans for Walt Disney World at last year's D23, and with this year's Destination D23 still months away, I don't think anyone was anticipating this, especially with so many projects gearing up and other new offerings making their debut this year.
Yeah, but I agree with her. I don't think a lot of fans were expecting another big announcement, but you know what? I'm telling you.
That's the time you do make a big announcement.
Well, it is, but it's also like the timing though. You have the head of the parks division vying for that CEO's spot. He's only got so much time to win the board over. He can't look bad. Epic Universe can't open and give Disney Parks a black eye right now. He cannot afford that right now for his own personal career. He cannot afford that to happen. So it makes sense that, hey, he's going to announce some big thing the day Epic Universe opens,
Well, see, but here's the thing, OG. I agree with you. I agree with you. However, this is where him being chairman of parks. Now, again, I don't know like how much his hands are tied and what he can do or can't do, right? I'm just thinking, right, like the hypothetical, if I was in your shoes type of situation, I wouldn't really know, like what really goes on. However, leading up to if you wanted to be the CEO and get up to that spot, a lot of this stuff should have been really taken care of gradually as the years were going on, as you've been in this position.
Well, and yes, you're right. And that's why, perfect circle back, Ebba, because that's exactly the issue that we have with tomorrow. Because it feels like it's a big rush to get it all out now, because you said it feels agenda driven.
Yeah.
I got to get it done. It's like the last you're doing your homework like the night before, like, oh man, I should have been working on this all week, that whole kind of thing. It feels like that. And again, I'm not trying to pile on Josh. We're hard on him because we love this company so much and we want it to do well. Believe me, I want Josh to hit a home run, dude. I want him to hit a grand slam. But the optics are the optics. And maybe we're totally wrong, but that's what it looks like though. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And seriously, if all this he was doing that I was aware of him throughout his tenure as chairman of parks, it would have been a different story because there would have been consistency of these projects, his announcements, the quality of things. But this is all very much like a Disney Plus show. Oh, we're going to rush everything at the last minute of the season.
Yeah. Well said.
So I'm kind of shocked Disney is willing to shell out even more cash right now.
I'm not.
But this may indicate that Disney is more concerned about Epic Universe and they're letting on. And that's understandable given the glowing reviews the park and its attractions are getting from team members and their families during previews. So if this rumor report comes to fruition and it's truly big, maybe then we'll know. But let's get into what might be coming to Animation Courtyard in terms of IP and theme. So one of the leading contenders that has been floated online is that the announcement for this space is for a Simpsons land or Simpsons ride, since Disney now owns that franchise. And while I get the arguments in favor of this...
Now, here is the thing with this. I don't like this idea. I've said many times, I don't think the Simpsons aesthetic works well in a theme park environment, a real world environment. I think that Simpsons animation style works really well for TV, for prime time, what it was designed for. In terms of bringing that world into the real life.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
Right? It's a big who cares. It's very boring. You know what I'm saying? Like even Peter Griffin, I love Family Guy, but I don't want to see like Quahog. You know what I'm saying? It's not an interesting world to go visit. It's very 2D and flat. It just doesn't work in a 3D environment. I will say this though. I'm going to give a little bit of a caveat here, and I paused it right here for a reason. If Disney takes a different approach with The Simpsons and they do a more meta approach where you get the Great Simpson movie ride or something like that, where you have Simpsons characters telling various film stories, like The Lion King, for example, where Homer's holding up Maggie like Simba, or you have Iron Man, like, he's dressed as Iron Man, and you have all these show scenes where you go through and it's all these classic movies, big blockbusters as told by The Simpsons. That has potential. Another thing that has potential is Halloween. You could potentially have a Treehouse of Terror or Treehouse of Horror sort of after hours, Oogie Boogie Bash sort of event. That has potential. The Simpsons does have potential if Disney's willing to get risky and get a little ballsy here and try something different. But if they do what Universal did in like 2008, we're just going to rebuild Springfield. No, thanks. I don't want it. If you get creative Disney and you kind of go what I was suggesting, something a little bit more fun and unique, a little more outside the box, okay, I'm willing to hear it out, but still not my favorite franchise right now in terms of the options.
I doubt it. I highly doubt it. Not only will there be debates about whether The Simpsons belongs in Disney's family-friendly parks, but a Simpsons land and attractions have been done. They're at Universal, and they're not exactly major favorites. It's also just not something...
To be fair, though, to be fair, the Simpsons stuff that was built at Universal was also built pre-Comcast. If current Universal were to build anything Simpsons, it would undoubtedly be better than what we currently see today. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that, like, I get it. She's not wrong. I mean, it's nothing spectacular, but I do think it was also the era. Universal was going through a real rough patch during that time period. Didn't have the greatest management. You know what I'm saying? So that is part of the equation, but she's not wrong. It isn't. The Simpsons stuff has not impressed fans at all.
Fans are asking for, and
I will say that I like your idea. I'm fine with. Okay, I'll be straight up honest. I'm biased. I do not like The Simpsons. Even as a kid, I never liked The Simpsons. That's not fair. It's not for me. I don't like the characters. It is. I know. I recognize it's highly popular. However, I like your idea, OG, because they're there, so they are so represented, like, because they're now owned by Disney, they're in the park, but they're not like in your, it's not represented in your face directly. It's a more indirect approach representing the characters for Disney, right? So
Yes.
I do like that approach. If they had something like that, I would be totally fine with it. I personally, like you, I don't want to see a Springfield place. Like I have never desired to want to explore a place like that. Or even if like I kind of going a little bit off topic here, but like I love shows like, you know, Rocket Power, Hey Arnold, whatever. But I would never want to have a theme park build a place representing that area in those shows. I don't have any desire to go to these places. I like to see them on the screen, but no desire to actually walk in.
Well, the whole reason why the Great Simpsons movie ride even came up, like how many shows ago, was because Disney decided to do the not so good thing of getting rid of My Great Movie Ride.
Right.
See, and me personally, if you're going to do something with The Simpsons, I wouldn't do it in the animation courtyard because there's so much space to waste all that land on The Simpsons. Now, that's coming from a Simpson fan, but I'm a Simpson fan on television, not in the theme park environment. However, my thing was that if you were going to get rid of the Great Movie Ride, put The Simpsons in the Grauman's Chinese Theater, because it's just one complacement of an attraction. And then that way you can kind of see like the Simpsons take over the Grauman's Chinese Theater. You know, they interpret their versions of like Hollywood blockbusters. And honestly, however you feel about it, I absolutely love Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. It does not belong for me in Hollywood studios, and it sure as hell doesn't belong in the Grauman's Chinese Theater. If anything, that attraction should have been put over in Magic Kingdom, where the Storybook Circus is.
Yeah,
Because the Storybook Circus was where Mickey's Toontown Fair used to be, and that's where Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway should have been housed.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, unfortunately, that's water under the bridge now. But the cool thing, though, if they do the Great Simpsons movie ride, George, at least we get an homage to that classic attraction in some way, you know, which is cool. You know, you kind of bring that energy to the park again. Now, you probably won't have the Grauman's, you know, theater again. Obviously, they're not going to build it again. But, you know, yeah, Simpsons has potential. But I don't know if Disney is going to get risky enough. Like, to do the ideas that we suggested, you have to really swing for the fences. You got to. It's risky. Are they really going to do that? I just don't. I just don't know.
In that part of the park, probably not. I don't think it would be The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's the other thing. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and people watching, correct me if I'm wrong too. But I feel like, you know, when people are like, "Oh, Star Wars, Marvel, none of this is Disney," right? For me personally, The Simpsons is like one of the furthest things from something feeling Disney as you can possibly get.
Yeah.
But that's just me. However, you know, I won't be opposed to them having some representation in the park as long as it's done in a way that is not really in your face and it's more like kind of that meta, like what you're talking about, OG. I think that's a great idea. I don't need to see character meet and greets. I don't need to see a Simpsons show. I don't need a restaurant or an attraction. I honestly, personally, just do not care. But if it's done in a way like you said, I think that would be fine. You know, they're kind of there. They're kind of having like the Disney meta thing going on with them. You know, like the picture you stopped on was great. You know.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah, and Disney has seemed to be kind of going in that direction with The Simpsons, at least through their content with like Disney Plus. Like when you watch a lot of the new Simpsons shorts, it's very meta. You know what I'm saying? It's like Simpsons like in the Star Wars universe or things like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you take that energy and you put that into a theme park, okay, now we're cooking with gas. And this is the park you would do that in. Out of all the parks, really Hollywood Studios is like the only one where Simpsons would even make sense. So it's interesting, but I don't think it's going to happen, but you never know.
Don't see how The Simpsons would move the needle for Disney. And it definitely wouldn't succeed in setting Disney apart from Universal. If anything, it would only emphasize that Disney and Universal are competing instead of setting Disney apart. The next contender, and y'all, this is a big one, is Marvel.
Okay,
I've said it. It's been talked about with Universal.
Go back to what she said about setting. No, just right before, about when she was talking about Disney being set apart from Universal, right? right here.
Okay.
And it definitely wouldn't succeed in setting Disney apart from Universal. If anything, it would only emphasize that Disney and Universal are competing instead of setting Disney apart.
Okay, so right there, right? You know, we always talk about the Disney difference, you know, with customer service, quality of attractions, the park. That there, you know, is really like, you know, if Disney is really now competing with Universal, that, at least I guess for Disney, would feel like Universal is starting to get on their level. Yeah. And, you know, I know Universal has a lot of stuff that really isn't for you, OG, or in some cases for me. But in terms of a quality theme park and like in the immersiveness of a theming, environment, storytelling, Universal is really hitting home with this. You know, they're really like jumping into the pool with Disney for this category style theme park.
Yeah.
And if they really do feel like they're competing, then that means that Disney feels Universal has now gotten to their level in the theme park market.
Yeah, well said, Ebba. And another thing too that you run the risk of is like maybe not as much of a risk, but like you know, Disney, like when Disney built the Spider-Man web slinger attraction at DCA, it's like, okay, there's obviously going to be the inevitable comparisons to the Spider-Man ride at IOA. So you build a Simpsons thing, and it's just like, she's right. You're already setting yourself up for that direct comparison. The Disney version of these characters compared to the Universal version of these characters. And while I think Disney potentially could do a much better job because the Universal Simpsons stuff was before Comcast, it's not that great. Still, why set yourself up for that comparison game? Disney has a ton of IP they can pull from. On the title right here, you got Moana, you got Marvel, you got Zootopia. You got some heavy hitters here. Now, she's going to get into Marvel. Interesting concepts here with Marvel because we do know that Universal holds the theme park rights east of the Mississippi for Marvel, but she makes an interesting case about that. So let's hear what she has to say.
The next contender, and y'all, this is a big one, is Marvel. I've said it, it's been talked about with Universal planning to overhaul its pre-existing parks in the future. Of any time in recent memory, the chances of Disney getting the theme park rights to Marvel are higher now than ever before. Is it still a long shot? Absolutely. But the conditions are far more probable now than I can ever recall. If so, and if Disney is planning for something Marvel at Hollywood Studios, that would definitely make headlines the opening week of Epic Universe. And there is some talk that Black Panther's Wakanda might, and I emphasize might, be possible even without Marvel theme park rights. And there's some evidence that Disney may be thinking about this because leading up to
I actually have to respectfully disagree with her on that. From what I understand, if any character is represented in IOA, Disney technically can't use it. And from what I understand, Black Panther is utilized in some artwork in IOA.
On like a mural kind of thing, like facade. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think they can use Black Panther. They'd have to get now, if they got the Marvel rights from Universal, they could, but they can't just use Wakanda and all that stuff in their parks right now. They'd have to get that deal.
Eventually, I could see Marvel obviously come into Walt Disney World once they configure like the rights with Universal and everything. I don't think this particular area will be home to Marvel because of that reason. If the speculation is true that they are going to make this big announcement soon before Destination D23, I mean, unless some things are going behind the scenes even more than what we know, I seriously doubt that they would come to an agreement between Disney and Universal to give up the rights in that short amount of time.
Well, and then it's Universal handing Disney a big announcement during their Epic Universe.
Right.
So
yeah,
that's
it's like handing Disney like, okay, we're announcing Epic Universe, but we're going to give Disney the upper hand by competing with us, by giving them the IP that they desire.
Yeah, there's no way. Brian Roberts, the head of Comcast, plays a lot of dirty pool, bro. I'm telling you, he's a smart, savvy businessman, but he plays dirty. Okay, we saw what he did with the Fox stuff. He kept outbidding Disney to raise that price up, so Disney had to overpay for Fox. There is no way on God's green earth he is going to allow Disney these Marvel rights so they can announce some Marvel thing the week that Epic Universe opens. It's never, ever, ever, ever going to happen. I can promise you that. Now, I agree with her. I do think that Marvel will eventually be handed over to Disney. I think those rights will be handed over. Universal has a lot of deals right now with a lot of heavy players. Nintendo's a big one. There's rumors about Pokemon coming to Universal. Pokemon's a massive franchise. You know what I'm saying? They already have Harry Potter. Universal has a lot of their own in-house IP that's getting bigger too. You know, so they got the DreamWorks stuff now. They've owned for a few years. So I do think there's less need for Universal to have Marvel. I do think they will eventually hand over the Marvel rights. I've said it for a long time. Universal can't add anything to Marvel Superhero Island. All they can do is basically beautify what they currently have over there. Eventually, Universal is going to want to put a franchise in there that they can actually play with. Okay, it does them no good to like hold on to this franchise forever and not be able to expand or do anything with it when they got Pokemon and all kinds of crazy other big IPs they can pull from. And they're going to want to update these parks because Epic Universe will cannibalize the other older two parks. So they're going to have to revitalize IOA and the studio park heavily to pull people away from Epic or to at least add on to that vacation package.
23 last year, Disney Parks Chairman Josh D'Amaro named drop Wakanda as one of Imagineering's plans pretty much every time he spoke to the press. Also, in addition to a Wakanda show coming to Disney Plus,
Really quick,
we talked about Animal Kingdom's Indiana Jones.
So I had to mention this because at the first time when I watched this video, I also have to clarify to her statement that yes, D'Amaro did mention as Wakanda as one of like a theme lands, but he was referring to for Disneyland Forward as a possibility. It wasn't for Walt Disney World. Now, again, not saying that Wakanda can never come to Walt Disney World, but in the reference of which he's referring to that D'Amaro was mentioning, that was more geared towards Disneyland than Walt Disney World.
It was. That is correct.
Ride for Tropical Americas, Glenn Testa from the Disney Dish podcast made specific mention that Cool Khan, the Maya feathered serpent god, has connections to Black Panther. And maybe I'm imagining things, but when I heard him explain this, I remember thinking if he was alluding to something about Black Panther coming to the parks. Now, personally, I'd rather see Wakanda at Animal Kingdom or Epcot than Hollywood Studios. But this is one possibility that I do think has more evidence in favor of than not. Another potential contender is Zootopia. A Zootopia land or ride has been floated around for years and even expected at one point for Animal Kingdom. And it is sort of happening in the form of a show inside the Tree of Life, opening later this year at Animal Kingdom called Zootopia Better Zoogether. I just don't think a Zootopia land or ride is that high up on theme park fans' wish list. And with a Zootopia experience already on the way this year, I just can't see Disney going back to that same well so soon. I've also heard fans speculating about.
I gotta disagree.
I'm right there with you, bro.
We have a sequel, Zootopia 2. The first movie did banger numbers, box office, huge film, and now you have part 2 coming.
And people were up in arms when they made that announcement of that the Zootopia attraction, so to speak, that was coming to Animal Kingdom was solely just a 3D show. People were disappointed that it wasn't a land. And I feel like people are still craving, Zootopia, not as you just said with the sequel, but also it's been getting high praise in Shanghai Disneyland, and that's an international park. So I mean, Disney would definitely capitalize this. So yeah, I have to respectfully disagree as well. I think people would really eat up the fact if Zootopia were to come to the studios.
No, I completely. Hey, George, you're not lying. No, but in all seriousness, though, and look, Joe Rohde is back at Disney. Okay, now he's not like a full-time Imagineer, nothing like that, but he is as a consultant for Imagineering. It's been well documented that Joe Rohde does not want like Zootopia in Animal Kingdom. Now, maybe the 3D show, the little show in the tree was like a compromise. But he's certainly, I don't think with him around still, I don't think they're going to want to get in the business of pissing Joe Rohde off and putting a full-blown Zootopia in Animal Kingdom. It's never going to happen as long as Joe Rohde is here, in my opinion. Where do you put it then? Hollywood Studios. There's rumors. There have been rumors for a few years now that they want to put a Zootopia in DCA, which is a similar park to Hollywood Studios. I'm telling you, this is not that far-fetched. And so far, between this and Marvel, I think this is way more likely. Way more.
Absolutely.
Oh, 100% more likely.
About Disneyland Paris's new Lion King log flume ride being replicated here for Animation Courtyard. But again, I just can't imagine Disney doing that anywhere but Animal Kingdom. So I'm kind of doubtful about that one too.
Yeah, I agree.
However, I do think if this is even possible from an engineering standpoint, and I'm not saying that it is,
can you pause it?
Yeah, I got you.
I just real quick with Lion King, I don't understand why. Like, I feel we've talked about this. I feel like that we have underrepresentation of good old classic golden age era of Disney animation films in the parks. Why isn't there a Lion King ride or Pride Rock area in Animal Kingdom? That's like the perfect spot to put it.
Dude, I'm still questioning the whole fact. Yeah, the whole fact that the Renaissance era, that none of it is represented in the domestic parks. Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, Aladdin. It took us how long to get The Little Mermaid? And even like back in the 90s, OG pointed out how many times, this was even part of the Eisner era that he still didn't even put any of these popular, well-branded IPs in there.
No, it was a bunch of parades and celebrations. We never got any like actual dark rides or like attractions on any of these big properties. These are the properties that rebuilt the Walt Disney Company from '89 and just completely ignored in the parks, basically, in terms of an attraction, standpoint. Go ahead, Webba.
Well, and think like this too, from like a nature aesthetic standpoint as well. How amazing! Because like you go to Cars Land, right? All that beautiful rock work. How amazing! How fucking amazing would it be to see fucking Pride Rock built like in real life, dude? That would be freaking amazing, man. Oh my god,
it'd be incredible. It'd be incredible. I mean, the park to do that in was Animal Kingdom, 1000%. If you're not going to do it in Animal Kingdom, then maybe Magic Kingdom in Adventureland. But this ride system is too similar to Tiana's, so probably not.
Yeah, and then here's the thing: what you can do with a Pride Rock or like Lion King, I don't know, what would you call it, Savannah or something?
Yeah.
You could build an attraction, right? And then have like your Lion King characters within the attraction for Pride Rock. But then like what would be cool is that they built like a kind of like a what do you call it when you house all these animals? Like a conservation, right? But you have like real lions and stuff, lionesses outside of the attraction, right? Obviously, there's a barrier, but you can see them walking around, playing, eating. Dude, you're like literally living the Lion King at that point.
Oh, that'd be awesome, dude.
So cool.
Dude, that attraction would be the GOAT.
Wait, before you play it again, actually, while it's actually paused on this, I feel like this project would be probably the most significant, probably even a little bit before Zootopia, that may end up in Hollywood Studios, which is Moana. I mean, the Moana franchise right now is like the hot ticket with the amounts of replay on Disney Plus, the sequel, which brought in over $1 billion at the box office. They're doing a live action Moana. And if you really look at this concept art, it's very fleshed out in detail, which means there was a lot of progress that they were considering on putting Moana where Tropical Americas is going today. Because as you can see, Zootopia is looming in the distance, but there's really no significant detail. It was just, there's a possibility Zootopia may take over Dinosaur, where Moana is in the forefront of this concept art with the Kakamora spinner ride, and then another kind of log flume kind of attraction, which a lot of people were saying that it may transition into the type of ride system that's going in for Pandora that's based off of the Pirates Shanghai attraction.
Yeah, my only issue with Moana in Hollywood Studios is a little bit of like the same issue I have with going down Buena Street, turning a left, and going into Pandora.
Yeah,
It's a similar weirdness where you have this beautiful nature thing surrounded by a bunch of like Hollywood buildings. It's kind of weird. Go ahead, Webba.
No, I know. Sorry, OG. I was gonna say, yeah, you're absolutely. That's 100%. I was gonna say that. Like aesthetically, that just doesn't fit, in my opinion. What I love about the concept for Moana is, it'll be cool because now we have, Polynesian like representation from like, a new popular animated film, which is great. It has 2 movies already, plus a live action coming. And then it just itself, like again, the aesthetics, because it's it's the islands, the water, the trees and the brush and stuff. It's very lush, so a lot of greenery. I really like that aesthetic, like the aesthetic of Pandora, Moana. I like that naturey environment, and I think Moana really brings that aspect.
I mean, I personally would want it in the expansion pad that we're connected to Adventureland, where it looks out into the Polynesian village. That's personally where I would want it. I'm just thinking, like, out of all the things that were mentioned so far, that, I mean, I could see the optics of Disney utilizing this. As I said, would they put it in the right spot? I'm not sure, but I think they would pick Moana over anything, really.
Yeah, Moana is a huge franchise. Absolutely. That just feels like a weird fit to me. But I mean, again, it's tough to say.
Now, she does give a little bit of a tie-in, a little bit. Now, I know it probably really wouldn't make sense, but she gives her interpretation as to why Moana would be in that spot. Yeah.
All right, let's hear.
Flume ride concept, which was first shown at the 2022 D23 Expo, would be a great choice here. This concept art has never quite gone away. Fans love it, and Moana 2 just broke the viewership record on Disney Plus.
And really quick,
we all know
that.
I also have to say too, one plus side of Moana going into the studios is the fact that there would finally be a water ride at the studios.
There would be.
Knows in Florida, it is so freaking hot no matter where you go. I don't understand why every single Disney theme park doesn't hold some sort of water ride. Even Epcot, like, have something where you can actually get wet, because in Florida heat, you definitely need it.
So George, because I know you've had issues with the Buena Vista Street thing going into Pandora. Does that bother you with this case too a little bit with this park with Moana?
Oh yeah, aesthetically of like how the concept art looks. Yeah, absolutely. Because what you then be doing is you're walking towards the Grauman's Chinese Theater, you bank a right, and then boom, you walk into Moana. Now, the same argument goes where if they change the studio, say,
right,
like if they do the same thing that they be doing with DCA, then I can see it, but only for that. Yeah, aesthetically, it wouldn't really look appeasing to me.
Yeah, it's a weird transitions for sure.
Speaks volumes to the Walt Disney Company. And I think Moana next to Little Mermaid show could really complement each other. We could have a water-themed corner, a water-themed land at this part of Hollywood Studios. Now, would these two concepts work better at a different park? Yes, of course they would. But at this point, I'll take whatever we can get. A few other contenders I've heard that I'll briefly run through is another Star Wars land, which I think is a long shot given the location of Animation Courtyard. Also a Frozen land, which I get since Disney is seemingly building them everywhere. But I have a hard time believing this is going to come to Hollywood Studios since Frozen's footprint at Epcot's Norway is already so significant. And then I've heard speculation about the Muppets, especially if the space could connect back to Rock and Roller Coaster. The latter, I do not expect at all, but if Disney ever wanted to realize that Muppets version of the great movie ride here, it would definitely go a long way in helping theme park fans forgive them for closing Muppets Courtyard in Muppet Vision. So there we go. That is what we know about Disney's secret project and surprise announcement. And here's hoping they will follow through on this, because I do think it's going to be a rough summer for the Disney parks, not only because of Epic Universe, but because much of what Disney World is doing this year involves really unpopular decisions, including shutting down Muppet Vision and likely draining the rivers of America. In the comments, let me know which IP.
Okay, so real quick, I just want to thank Probably at Disney. First time watching her content. She does an amazing job. Make sure you go and subscribe to her. Check her out on YouTube. Really cool stuff. I disagree respectfully with a lot of her speculation. I actually think out of all the IP that she listed here, I think Zootopia is the front runner. I got to be honest. I think Marvel is a long shot. There's no way Universal is going to hand Disney a win like that so they can use it against them for Epic Universe's opening week or whatever. There's just no way that's going to ever happen. Moana, I can't see it either. I think they're probably going to want to put that either in like Animal Kingdom or like or Magic Kingdom, Adventureland. I can't see them putting it in.
I would want it, but here's the thing. I can say easily like, oh yeah, they wouldn't put Moana in the studios, but at the same time, we're getting Pandora in DCA.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I did not expect that at all either. I did not expect that at all.
Like at this point, like Disney's capable of doing anything. But yeah, aesthetically, I would prefer to see Zootopia in Hollywood Studios and Moana in Adventureland for sure.
Yeah, me too. 100%. 100%.
I think that DCA should get Zootopia. I think DCA should get Zootopia, Pandora, and Wakanda. I think Walt Disney World should get Moana. How that will work, I think DCA, you would have Pandora, followed with a seamless transition from Pandora to Wakanda. I think Zootopia should go into the Hollywood area in DCA. Yes. Get rid of that garbage that's back there. And then Moana, I guess George, I don't know, Hollywood Studios, I don't know, like where that should go. I've never been to Walt Disney World. I mean, I know of the places, but not really like.
As I said, aesthetically for Moana?
Yeah, it's a weird fit.
Yeah, see, aesthetically, it really wouldn't fit the studios unless they literally revamp the whole entire. Because here's the thing too. I mean, they even got Galaxy's Edge even in the studios where. So I don't know, like the route that Disney is going with the studios, just like with DCA. It seems like both of those parks have like an identity crisis that we don't really know what Disney's is seeing the future with those parks. As I said, aesthetically it doesn't look right, but I don't know what the future overall of the park is going to eventually look like. But I also have to add in too, because she had mentioned Frozen. I would prefer to see Frozen in Magic Kingdom. But the only reason that I disagree with her is because the sole reason that Frozen Ever After is in Epcot, just because there's one single attraction that's in another park, that still doesn't have to stop Disney from doing an entire land.
No, well, I agree.
Well, I think, George, the other thing, too, is we have to look at this. Disney's now on this. Because, look, we're talking about Zootopia, Moana, Wakanda, right? But here's the thing, though. These aren't just, like, rides, right? These are, like, built-themed land areas. Yeah. So you go to look at a place like DCA or Hollywood Studios, and you're like, okay, cool. We're going to put this very lush, green, watery environment in fucking Hollywood Studios. Aesthetically, yes. Sense, you know.
No, it doesn't. And here's the thing, it almost makes less sense to me than DCA, and I'll tell you why. Because DCA isn't just a Hollywood park, so it has like grizzly and like a lot of natural beauty mixed in already. So Pandora is like weird, it's an alien planet, but it's like it's not too far off of DCA because you already have an area where there's like natural beauty.
Yeah.
Where Hollywood is very much Hollywood. It's basically the Carthay Circle and like Hollywood Land, like in one giant park. So it feels a little bit weirder for Moana for me. I don't know.
Right.
But
Well,
for me, for Hollywood studios, it's kind of already done that path because you got one section, you get shrunk to the size of a toy, and you're in Andy's backyard.
That's true.
You walk right through into Batu for Star Wars, and then when you walk right out of Star Wars to the right of you, now you're going to have Monsters Inc. So for me, it feels like of how the studios looks now, it wouldn't make sense. The route that it seems like Disney is going by putting Monsters Inc., they have Toy Story, they have Star Wars, literally all right there in one big triangle. I feel like that they're going the route possibly like a cinematic,
Or dare I say epic Mouserverse? No, I was kidding.
because there were, when Iger was CEO the first time, they already had a new title for the studios in mind. They still to this day never released with that title.
Oh, I know what it is, George. So
What's
you know
that?
how you like they got all those different lands and that Hollywood Studios. Now just call it Hodgepodge Studios because that's what it is.
There you go. Disney's hodgepodge. No, yeah, it's weird. There might be some game plan here with these parks, with Hollywood or DCA, where they are going to reimagine these parks into similar to what they did in Paris with their secondary park, World Adventure. It wouldn't surprise me if they go in a different direction with these two parks, DCA and Hollywood, where they reimagine them into more generalized, like the worlds of Disney, basically, is like the theme, you know?
Yeah. Now, me personally, what I would like to possibly see in the animation courtyard is actually something that was not mentioned, but I mentioned a couple times here on the channel, is actually a whole land dedicated to the Incredibles. Because
That'd
I
be
feel
cool.
that would be more aesthetically pleasing. Plus, with the Incredibles 3 coming out, you could do a lot with that. You know?
Oh, bro. You know what's really aesthetically pleasing? Mrs. Incredible, bro. She's very aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, she's thicker than fog, dog. What say you, Mr. Webba?
Well, I actually want to go a little bit further and discuss this because since we're talking about, Disney is kind of vamping these already made parks into basically hodgepodge parks, going forward, like for Disneyland Forward, right? If they build a new park in like the Toy Story lot or even Walt Disney World, if they ever build a fifth gate or whatnot, they're really going to have to think about the thematic elements of the park and what do they want that park to represent. Because otherwise, if you build just kind of a generic like park, what is it supposed to be? Is it just going to be let's throw everything we can in this park, or is there a purpose to this park?
Yes, and Webba, thank you for saying that, because that is one of the big things I love about Disney. Because even though they're doing the IP thing, there is still, when you go to Florida or Orlando, the Disney parks still have, even with the IP that they're throwing in lately, they still have their own identities. Epcot's a very different park than Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom is a very different park than Animal Kingdom and Hollywood, right? They still have their own personalities. Universal doesn't really have that. Let's be honest. Epic Universe is basically Islands of Adventure 2.0. It's the same park, just new IP, and it's the same idea, basically. I don't want Disney to go down that road either. I want them to keep the identity. I don't want every park
already going down that road, though, because it seems like they're kind of blind in the fog with that. Because
I don't like that.
They could be looking at it like, well, people are praising Universal for all this, so maybe we should jump on that bandwagon. And I hope that's not the case, because Disney was always the front runner. Disney was always the leader. It always pioneered what theme park immersiveness, is. So I hope that they don't lose that, secret ingredient of theirs.
Well, George, that's the thing though, dude, is like really the past, ever since like 2018, 19, 20, 2020, Disney has been, at least in my opinion, have seemed more like the followers instead of the leaders. They've been very reactionary in terms of their studio and the park side. Yeah.
No, that's fair. That's fair, Ebba. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll see. We'll see. Gentlemen, you make it look so easy. Fantastic conversation. George, thank you for joining, sir. If you could let everybody at home. Oh, and really big shout out again to an amazing content creator, probably at Disney. Great video. I subscribed. I suggest everybody that watches OG55 subscribe to them as well. They do great work as we saw today. So, George, where can everybody find you on social media?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And also check out my new YouTube channel, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55.
Yes, and this weekend, George and I will be joined by Mr. Theme Park Wizard on location in Universal doing another on location bar chat. So check that out. It's gonna be a lot of fun. If you've been to Citrico Central and seen our bar chats, we do this nerdy conversation stuff, but in the field on location. So a lot of good stuff. So check that out. Coming soon. Coming very, very soon. Mr. Webba, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Thank you for joining. If you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, OG. This was a very fun conversation. And also, yeah, that the video we just watched, I thought she did a very good job with the video. I loved the production of it, the voiceover. She did a really good job. So that was a really good watch. But yeah, so you can find me on Twitter, Mr. Webba at Webslinger760. You can also find me on Threads and Instagram, Mr. Webba at Cobweb91. You can also find me here on Orange Grove 55.
Yes. And comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. We were pretty tough on Josh in the beginning. I know our Damaro fans are going to be in the comments like,
just what the fuck did he do?
I know it. It's okay. If you disagree with what we said, comment down below. We love to hear all opinions. Just keep it civil. We're rooting for Josh. We are hard on him because we want Disney to do better and better and better. That's why we're hard on him. You know what I'm saying? So we expect a lot from Disney because they are the top dog. Comment down below. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Jay. I almost cutting you off, dude.
You're good.
But with what you said though, when we see that he does something good, and like any other executive, we will say it, right? You know, I mean, yeah, our bias is Disney, but we're gonna call something out like it is, whether it's good or bad. You know,
100%, brother, 100%. Tomorrow, if you're watching this, do your thing, King. Just crush it and continue the momentum, and just give us the updates, and you'll be fine. But just don't fumble that bag. Anyway, talk to y'all later.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.